available for you?
Hmm?
Once you have more than one person, if you want.
No, it's not. So
Okay.
where's that chat? Okay, I think I'm good to go. I'm just going to check in 1 second here. Sorry about the technological halt here. Okay, awesome. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thanks for this opportunity here to have a little chat about Ayurveda and what's happening at the moment, and give you guys some tools and techniques to hopefully help us through this these times. And look, really, this is an opportunity to share some insights so we can understand ourselves a little better and work on some practices of inner engineering. We want to be able to change our internal perspective to what's happening and basically upskill this internal environment. So the things that happen in our reality, the things that happen in our life are an enjoyable and pleasant experience to hopefully evolve, as opposed to create so much conflict and turmoil. So the background in which I'll share this information from is, first of all, coming from Ayurvedic medicine as the hub here, but then also all of the information from yoga right through to, you know, movement and diet and functional medicine and Chinese medicine and all of these things, you know, and there's some great practitioners who are, you know, sharing awesome information. We have access to scientists, doctors, astrologers, you know, people in the realms of neuroplasticity. You know, look, there's so many people out there, and there's so many things that we can get information from and better our understanding, better our internal perspective, and, you know, live a really rich life. I don't want to talk too much about myself and my own background, because this is not about me. These are tools, these are techniques, these are ideas, and these are concepts that we can all ponder. And so I'm going to just dive as quick as I can into this, as we don't have a whole lot of time in this particular video right now to go and cover every single topic, every single concept, idea, and insight. If you do have questions and questions come up, please write them in the question and answer column on the webinar now. And come the end of the session, we can dive in and answer some of those questions personally. And other than that, let's sort of begin this presentation and go from there. And if things come up, you know, look, I can drive this conversation in many different directions. If things come up, we can address them at some point. So the first concept that I want to bring us attention to is that our health and the way that we handle our life, there is no right answer. There is no right way. There is no, this is what we should do. And why that is because there's too much uniqueness amongst all of us. We all have our own lessons. We all have our own journey. We all have our own parents. We all have our own dialogue. We all have our own thoughts, beliefs, memories, experiences. We all live in unique circumstances. We have our own unique likes and dislikes. We have a specific background, whether our body is highly functioning as a mover or whether we've had injury, trauma, debilitating illness. And this is a really important facet of health to understand, is that if we realize that there is no right way, we can actually have appreciation then for everyone else and every other perception or perspective of people's reality. And what this does, it allows us to come back to this place to go back and work on ourselves and go back and transform or heal or tap into our own personal journey and become a better version of ourselves. We know, and we've heard many times, the most effective form of change is to be the change that you wish to see. Now, that can just be brushed aside, but if we dive deeper into it, we've all had the experience where we've learned something like yoga or something about nutrition or something about some far out esoteric concept or something that's helped us. And the first thing we want to do is share it with everyone else or share it with our family members. And then all of a sudden we create this conflict because we have these different views of reality or these different perceptions. But that was because something drove us from the inside to go and seek something, because we were stuck and we wanted to expand, we wanted to learn something. And all of a sudden, it was our personal reality that we did that. We learned something, and then it helped us, but that does not mean that that's someone else's truth. That does not mean that that's what someone else needs. Now, why I'm saying this is because humans have a strong track record, a strong history of participating in potentially unhealthy levels of drama. And for some reason, it excites us and it gives us all of these things to talk about. And we're very social creatures, and that's beautiful. But at some point, somewhere along the line, we have to work out that the drama that we're buying into does not serve us in the end. So at the end of the day, I still have to close the door and be with myself. I still have to go to sleep and be me, who I am. Every person has to face themselves at some point. It's an exciting journey, and it's something that we should really take seriously. It's not our job, and nor is it an intelligent thing to take on someone else's truth. We can have guidance from many teachers. There's amazing people in the world doing amazing work, and we can read books and watch documentaries and learn from teachers and go to workshops and seminars and retreats and all of these things. They're beautiful, they're amazing. It's been a big part of my life, and it always will be. But we then have to still go and experience for ourselves life and discern what that means for us as an individual and understand what I need. And I'll give you an example. If we look at diet as one small and limited perspective of this entire reality, diet has this huge influence on our life. And if we notice, there is many, many diets, plant-based and ketogenic and paleo and high carb, low carb, high fat, all of these things, just to name a few. Now, are any of those wrong? No. Are any of those right? No. They're just perceptions. They're just people's truth through their experience. Now we need to learn to take those things on as an open mind, appreciate that offering, but then we need to put it into practice to come up with our own experiential reality to see if that served me or not. And at the end of the day, we have to become the person or the individual who has had the experience. So in one way, what we're doing here in this three-dimensional plane is putting ourselves through an amazing array of experiences, which is an incredible opportunity that we have to live all of these different realities and experience all of these different things with an open mind and find out what is actually true to us. So if we look at Ayurvedic medicine as an example, as one example, the foundation of Ayurveda, Ayur, life, and Veda, knowledge, the science of life or the knowledge of life, is just to live in harmony with Mother Nature. Now, is Ayurveda Indian? No. Its origins were India. But if we look at the indigenous culture of Australia as an example, it appears to be that these people, these indigenous people, were some of the greatest Ayurvedic practitioners ever. And this is because of their harmonious relationship with nature. So living in sync with the laws of nature are so high on the priority list that that should be our focus. And what I mean by that is our focus should be to build and design and co-create our life from the inside out, that we feel connected to this world as clearly as we can. Now, the challenge that we face is that we have a mind and we have a body and we have a spirit or a soul or a heart-based center. And these things are so apparently different in this three-dimensional reality that we get confused. Because we have a mind that is conditioned through past experience, through belief systems, through downloaded programs from our parents and from our upbringing, from our school, from our work, from the things that we read and the things that we watch. These are all cultural belief systems which build the mind of how this mind should perceive our reality. Now, as we start to travel around the world and we have all of these other ways of thinking, and this is the beauty of having connection with people all around the world right now, we see that our perception is just one reality. It's just one perception. It's just one perspective of so many things, of so many ways of living. Now, this mind, remember, from a yogic and a traditional Ayurvedic perspective, it is not meant to guide us in the direction of our life. It's not meant to make the big decisions. It is a caretaker. It's not the driving force which knows where it's going. It's there to be able to read and experience life through the five senses and transform that information into our body so we can navigate our world. So we can travel, we can communicate, we can have conversation, we can give advice, we can drive our cars, we can actually move through this planet. It's actually a series of repetitive patterns. And that mindset that we have is an accumulation of experiences. And in actual fact, as we look deeper into the science, it becomes really clear that not only is our mind an accumulation of the past, we're actually addicted to that as well. And so when we try to move forward and we try to break a habit, or we try to transform ourselves, or we try to become something that we haven't yet experienced, is very difficult because the neurological networks in our brain are predisposed to go onto the highways, these networks that are already governed, that we've already done. An example is we go and wake up in the morning and we want to brush our teeth. We're not thinking consciously about how to do that. We've already done it and we've stored it in the back of our brain, and it becomes an automatic response. Now, the science is now suggesting that that automatic response is 95% of our life. So we're in autopilot 95% of the time, and we're going through a pattern, we're going through a program, and we're going through belief systems that we've already defined. So it's very hard to open up and hear the heart or the soul or the spirit or the direction of where we should go. In that other 5%, we do have these signals and these, we might be daydreaming, or we might have this beautiful, loving relationship, or we might see a sunset, or we have these epiphanies. And often it happens on holidays, or when people fall in love and all of these things, or when we feel really good and aligned with ourselves, the heart opens up and all of a sudden we know exactly where we should go. It's a knowing, and it doesn't discern intellectually. It doesn't filter through all of our past experiences. It's just a feeling, and it's a very strong pull. Now, that gravitational pull, that is a direction, and it's a motivating force. The soul is a motivating force. It already knows exactly how to reconnect. It already is. So it already knows the direction. The problem becomes, how do we listen to this? How do we appreciate and listen to that pull and that connection from the heart? Now, the challenge comes up, and there's three facets to this, but the challenge comes up. The heart has a clear direction. I need to do this for my work. I need to pick up this aspect of my relationship. I need to be a better parent in this way. I need to do this project. I don't know why. Now, these things are so clear, so sharp, so accurate. They're so challenging because often it means change, and we fear change. So all of a sudden it says, hey, I need to do this for my work. I need to reach out in this way. And all of a sudden the mind goes, whoa, but what about this? How's this person going to think? What's mum going to think? What's dad going to think? What's my partner going to think? What's my friends going to think? How am I going to survive financially if this happens? And all of the questioning comes back in. But where is the questioning coming from? It's coming from a downloaded program and a belief system that we've already defined, that we're addicted to. Now, in the challenge there, when we become addicted to those thoughts and we go back down the same path all the time, we're trying to break habits. What happens then, as the neurological networks in the brain actually fire together, they create a whole lot of chemistry in the body, and that's a feeling. It comes out as feeling. It's a chemical residue of our thought process, and it creates the chemistry of our blood. It creates the hormonal response. It creates how the digestive system is functioning. It's all affected by the thought process. Now, because we know this becomes the greatest challenge. This is the challenge. The thoughts are creating the physiology, and that physiology we're addicted to also. So we are used to the same chemical residue and the same emotions and the same thought processes and the same feelings and the same outcomes as we always have. So then when I try to create a new thought and a new reality, the neurological networks are not yet defined per se. And I try to break out of a habit, and I try to do something positive for myself. I try to turn within myself and inner engineer my reality to make sure that I'm perceiving my reality in an accurate way. But all of a sudden, that's not only new in my neurological circuits, but it's also new as a chemistry. And then that feels uncomfortable because it's not familiar. It's not familiar. We need to get out of familiarity and move towards the unknown and move towards challenge and change. But on a personal level, not on a level as everyone should do this and this is what we need to do, because that's only your perception or my perception. Our journey is to grow and evolve and transform and open up our level of consciousness, our level of awareness. we need to do that as a personal journey if we hope to change our reality and become a healthier version of ourselves. It's an internal journey. It's not an exogenous bringing in. It's something that happens from the inside out. From this point, we can then open up into a reality that we don't yet understand and follow our intuition and follow that and grow and evolve into an amazing potential that we don't yet recognize. Now, I'm going to make it more practical and I'm going to give us some tools and ideas. But what I want us to understand is now we've got this mind that's basically an accumulation of the past. And then we have this soul or this heart, which is blocked up because the mind is so powerful and intellectual and strong. We have this governing force that comes out every now and then and says, this is what you need to do and this is the direction you need to go. And then the mind blurs over the top of it and tells it, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't sit down and meditate. You're wasting your time. You shouldn't breathe. It doesn't help you. You shouldn't eat all this food because you're going to die anyway. All of the buts. And sorry, I was reading a little post there. And then the challenge is we also have a physical body that is making this triangle, this pyramid, that also has a huge amount of biological experience and biological necessity. So we're trying to bring harmony to a mind, a spirit, and a body. So this challenge of this three-dimensional reality that we find ourselves into is trying to harmonize three such apparent different feelings and different experiences all into the one. And this is the challenge that we face. This is why life seems quite hard. So coherence or alignment of mind, body, and spirit is not an easy task. It's not something that is super simple. It's not something that we should be telling someone, you should do it like this. It's something that we should be practicing and we should be leading from experience. And we should also be humble enough to realize that, hey, we're all learning this and none of us have this completely sorted. The reason most health practitioners get into health is because we're not healthy. The reason that people get into injury rehabilitation is because they've been so injured. The reason people get into psychology is because they've had their own challenges on a mental plane. The reason people get into spirituality is because they're hoping to find something further or greater than the traumatic experience that they've potentially had. Now, as health practitioners, it's not our job to say, you should do this, or you should live like that, or you should eat this, or you should move like that. It's our job to be the best versions of ourselves and share that journey with each other and be open enough to realize if someone is working something out and they've had an amazing experience and response, we can ask them questions and we can get help and guidance from those people. We should all have people who are there to help us and guide us. So this brings me to a point. One of the most important things we can do is continuously have a confrontation with reality. And what I mean by that is putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations, putting ourselves in discomfort, being challenged, and being open enough to say, I don't know, and I have a lot to learn here. Because what happens is when we don't physically challenge ourselves enough, we don't mentally challenge ourselves, we don't spiritually challenge ourselves enough, what happens is we get comfortable and we think we know. Because the mind becomes almighty and powerful. We read all these books and we read all this stuff about all of these different modalities. But in actual fact, we haven't yet experienced it ourselves. It's still theoretical. If life was supposed to be theoretical, we would just have a mind, but we have a body and we have a spirit and we have a heart to actually experience this on all planes, on all dimensions. If we want to know what's good for us to eat, we need to pay ultra attention, eat that food and pay attention to how it affects us. If we want to know what the best way to move is, we can take guidance from all these different specialists in the areas, but we need to do the movement and discern whether that was beneficial for me or not. Now, beneficial is not just pleasure. It's always something that's discomfort. So as an example, sometimes I read a lot and I watch a lot of things and I attend different seminars and things where I learn and I'm challenged by teachers. And then all of a sudden I think, wow, I'm learning so much. Like, great job, Joe, you're doing well. And then I might paddle out into the ocean and a big wave lands on my head. And all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, you're this big and you're scared. Now that is a beautiful confrontation with reality. Now the same thing is I could think like, wow, I'm fit and I'm healthy and I'm this and I'm that. And then all of a sudden I do a martial arts practice and then someone just completely annihilates me. And I realize straight away, oh, you've got so much to learn. Like, wow, this person can show me exactly where I'm at for real. It takes a certain personality and a certain yearning to put ourselves into the discomfort, but that's where the growth is. That is the edge of where the growth is. Why I say this is because I recognize within myself, and I definitely see that in all of the people that I am privileged to associate with, the potential is so much higher than we think. Now, because that potential is so much higher than we think, that is on all planes. And we tend to tap out really early when we have so much physical capacity. We have so much mental capacity and we have so much spiritual capacity. But for whatever reason, we attach to the drama, we get confused in all of the wash of information, and we forget to listen to ourselves. Now, it is important that we begin the process of realigning and synchronizing ourselves with the environment and becoming the best versions of ourselves by cleaning the body, cleaning our senses, working and healing the physical body, and opening up to a concept of I'm not quite sure and I don't know, but I'm going to follow this strong pull and this strong intuition and this strong yearning that I have to expand, which we all have, and to reconnect. How do we do that? It changes all of the time. Right now here in the east coast of Australia, the westerly winds have just kicked in. The environment is now blowing strong winds, and there is a drying element in nature. It's autumn, there's a dehydration. Some leaves are starting to fall. Are we connected, and is that affecting us physiologically? Yes, it is affecting us physiologically. We will now see things like eczema and rashes and skin dermal conditions are kicking in really strong. We'll see cracked lips, we'll see crust in the epithelial lining of the nasal passages. We'll see earaches and things like that come up. We'll also then see anxiety, worry, loss, lack of structure and discipline, a sense of grounding will be challenged. All of these things will happen because we are connected to the environment. We are the environment. We're an expression of the environment. Once we recognize that, what we can do, if we do a nice warm oil massage right now, if we jump into a warm bath, if we stay nice and warm, if we protect the ears, wear beanies and hoodies in the wind, if we eat warm soups and broths and beautiful, nourishing Asian style cuisine, and we take medicinal herbs that are like tonics and building with lubrication and oilination and an actual sweet quality, and we do physical practices that are grounding and strong, all we're doing is countering the environment to bring ourselves back to a center point. Because if we don't, and we stay and we don't put warm clothes on, and the skin gets dry and the wind blows and we don't protect our senses, all of a sudden we get affected, and then our own internal reality gets distorted, and we can't quite then perceive our life the way that it is. And the mind all of a sudden takes over, and it's the most loud and powerful one. So then we start thinking of all of these other things, and our life sort of turns into a bit of a mess, and we start to worry. And then all of a sudden that worry leads to a shunting of blood away from the digestive system, and we get stress responses start to kick in, and the adrenal glands activate, and then we send noradrenaline into the brain, and then that noradrenaline is there because we've activated the locus coeruleus in the brain, and all of a sudden we're ready for fight and flight. But now we're not doing anything because we're just thinking and watching the media, and we're scared of all of these ideas, and we're listening to all of these other opinions. It's not even our truth, but we're creating it in our head. It may be our truth, and that's fine. But if it's not, then so much of our worry and concern is coming from just a mental plane that's not even ours, because we love attaching to the drama. And then all of a sudden it's changing our chemistry. And then all of a sudden we have hormones stuck in our brain that need to get out of our brain because we should have used them. If we were stressed out and worried in a real life situation, we would then go and use our body physically and express those hormones that were created from our thoughts. But now we still just sit, and then we worry some more, and we associate with some more drama. And then all of a sudden we've created this chemical soup. And to get rid of that chemical soup, or to methylate away that chemical soup, all of a sudden we need our own nutrients to get rid of some of those different forms of adrenaline. And then we start to rob our own system of our own nutrients to get rid of chemistry that we created that didn't serve us in the beginning. And so what we're looking at is, again, these powerful practices of meditation or mindfulness or yoga practice or Tai Chi or Qigong or anything where we align ourselves and we use our movement and we use our breath and we sync it up with an intention to stay grounded and balanced. And we start to align our senses and we start to calm everything down. So we become aligned mentally, physically, spiritually with life. And then it becomes quite clear what we need to do. And it's not so influenced by all of the wash and all of the information that's floating around. It becomes clear for ourselves, but that clarity is not one clarity. That clarity is just your reality. And that's important. It's important to find your clarity and your truth. Because no matter how much we look up to someone or something or some philosophy or modality, at the end of the day, it still has to work for us. We still have to become a better version of ourselves. Our aim is to heal ourselves. Our aim is to be aligned with ourselves and life. From here, it's so easy to have empathy and compassion, understanding, and not be pushed around by what's going on. But that requires the diet to be monitored. Is this diet serving me? I don't have the answers for what that is for you. I have suggestions, and Ayurveda has many suggestions, which right now would be a warm, heating, spiced, lubricated, hydrating diet because of autumn, to oppose that. And the physical practice, the suggestion would be to do strong practices, even things like weight training and martial arts and grounding, like stance-based practices like Qigong and Tai Chi as an example, or some really strong grounding yoga practices. And definitely meditation and breath work as a bringing of the energy out of the mental plane and into the body. That would be intelligent right now, but that has to be experienced, and that has to be something that you want to do because you're up for a new challenge. You're up for a new opening. And then the power comes to you. It's your reality. And then you can trust yourself. So why I've gone on this rant is because it appears that for some reason, somewhere along the line, we thought that someone else knew. And we thought that we had to listen, and science or spirituality or something else had the answers that we don't have, or a practitioner has the answers and they've worked it out and I haven't. It's not true. That is not true. And it is what it is, but it's beautiful to think that, yes, the people have the power. You have the real power. You have the understanding. You are in control of your reality, even though, yes, we're spinning on a rock hurtling through space, so it's completely out of control. That's real too. But how you function and how you perceive your reality is based on your perception from the inside out. And that is based on how well the physical body, the mind, and the soul are coming together in the same alignment to work for the same common goal of health and healing for ourselves, for each other, and for the planet. Now, because that's a central point going out, it's the same when we look at solutions. We can already see when we're trying to come up with a global solution to what's happening right now, we come back to say, well, it's going to be so much more effective and intelligent if it starts within the local community and it builds from the inside out. But to do that, then you need conscious people. You need people who are open, willing, pioneering, innovating, and up for the challenge of change. But we can't expect that or wish that upon anyone else. We can only yearn for that and practice that ourselves. So my suggestion then would be, come back to yourself all the time, and I'll come back to myself all the time. And every time the mind becomes loud and we become anxious, confused, worried, depressed, angry, frustrated, get into your body, do something physically that challenges you, get into your mind, do something that mentally challenges you, and have a confrontation with reality to drive you back to the center again. And keep coming back all the time. I feel like this, great, practice some more. I think we should do this, come back to yourself, practice some more. We need to do this in the world, come back to yourself, practice some more. This diet works for everyone else, come back, practice yourself. And if we keep pulling the reins in all of the time, our goal is to become a living experience and almost like an archive, a library of experiences, which we then could actually be beneficial to helping other people for real, and helping them by not telling them what we think is right, but sharing our experience and sharing that, hey, well, yes, I had that situation similar and this is what I did and this was the outcome. Maybe you could try the same. It's a totally different perception to stop pointing the fingers out and thinking that there's something wrong and we need to do something. Maybe we just need to come back in and just try to grow and build and build and build and build and grow and grow and grow and grow from the inside out, and reconnect and align our mind, align our body, align our spirit, and allow the soul to go forward, allow it to move, allow it to be the motivating force, and use the mind then not as the ruler, not as the boss, but as the caretaker to facilitate that yearning and get the body strong enough, get the body physically strong enough and physically open enough to be able to hold and handle that amount of information. So I'll break it down even simpler and then we can have some Q&A. We need to work on the mind, the body, the spirit equally. There's no good being amazingly physically capable if we can't sit with ourselves in meditation practice and sit in mindfulness and focus and concentration. There's no point in being able to sit there and focus and concentrate forever in one single point if the body's completely neglected and in pain and all sorts of different things are going on and we can't actually use it. And there's no point in being so spiritually open and so aware of all of these other dimensions and realities and existences and perceptions and being so sensitive to everything if then the body is suffering and the mind is scattered between all of these different realities and we can't wash our clothes or we can't cook our dinner or we can't look after our children. And again, as I said in the beginning, this is the challenge that we face, is aligning three very, very interesting dimensions all into one existence. And if we look at yoga and we look at Ayurveda and we look at anything, Chinese medicine, all of it, there's amazing arts out there. If we look at all of these, this has been the core concept, is to bring into reality a combination and a healthy balance of all of the different perceptions and realities. In that way, medicine in its truest form is a preventative medicine where we bring in respect that every single thing influences every other thing. There is no separation. There's no, I just have a liver condition and everything else is fine. It's like, no, that doesn't work. It's not right. It cannot be like that. We're an integrated system, and our mind and our body and our spirit all are affected by that. This holistic approach is something that we can, dive into. And so thank you. And I hope that was some insight. And I know it was, there's plenty there to think about. But if you have any questions now, I would be very open and stoked to hear from you guys. So please shoot away if anyone's got any questions there. And of course, if anyone wants to, connect with me in any way, then please do so, and we can chat anytime. So if anyone has any, practical questions there, please go for it and ask a specific question. And that's why I was actually hoping, in many ways, I'd love to do a session where we had everyone together. So it wasn't just me talking and the people could actually drive where this goes, because as I said in the beginning, it's not about me there. So someone's asked there, about the workshops and things that I've got coming up. There's so much, it's all up in the air at the moment, and that's an enjoyable place to be. We had a Glenrock retreat that we had on this weekend, which has now obviously been postponed. So that Glenrock retreat will be in September. So it'll be around the Father's Day weekend. So that's a bigger event where we're hoping to get a lot of people together and some amazing people that we can line up and share. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. And all those things will be on my website. The mental eye retreats in Indonesia, they're always a thing. But again, these retreats in Indonesia, they're going to be, again, just opened up for whenever we have an opportunity to get back and travel and do these types of things. Yeah, so the headache one, that's an interesting one. So when we think about with the headache, always, it's a dry pain. Oh, thank you, Susan. Amazing. It's a dry pain. So that headache, we have to, look at dehydration. We have to make sure that the digestive system and the digestive tract is lubricated and actually moving really well. Constipation and challenges always have an effect. The level of oxygen that we have in our system is always going to affect how the brain is functioning, and that pressurization, dehydration and pressure, which are always coming from holding patterns and tension and stress. This is something that we need to soften. And this beautiful, beautiful idea there. So the question about headaches, keep thinking about releasing this mental fist. Keep thinking of softening this mental fist all the time, softening. And what I mean by that, it's physical, it's literal. Like, relax the forehead, relax the jaw, relax behind the eyes, and soften the mental fist. Because we may not realize how normal we've created thought process and thinking. And if you hear some of the great teachers, it's like their advice is things like forget. And they get to a point where they're not interested in reading anything. They're not interested in learning anymore, because the more intellectual we become, we just start labeling everything. We start, I've learned all of this stuff about biology. So then I see a tree and all of a sudden I just label the tree, but I don't experience the tree at all. I've got too much knowledge, too much intellect pulsating through me to even actually stop and go, I don't even know what this tree is, but I'm just going to have a feel about this tree. I'm going to be around this tree, or animals or people or kids. This idea of forgetting it's amazing. We're actually trying to release all the tension, empty the bucket. And this is the idea. I mean, so many of us are motivated to do all of these meditation practices. It's a beautiful thing to do the meditation practices to just allow all of this washing to go away. All of these thoughts that cram up, because if we pay attention in meditation enough, we realize we have all these repetitive thoughts just cycling and cycling and cycling and cycling. Now, this is something that we want to eliminate so we can actually experience the isness of life the way that it is and actually hear these stronger messages that are going to drive us in a really positive direction. So that's kind of what we're after. A long answer to the headache, but yes, mental fist. And of course, warm hydration is a big part of that, but it's so beyond, we can go and get spice foods and all sorts of things and gingers and, that they'll work. They'll definitely work. But the overall effect, the overall thing is we want to change. We want to change bigger perceptions. And if there's any more questions there, please shoot away. We're about on time now, but I wish we had 10 hours and we could just hang out. Okay, awesome. All right, thank you guys so much. Much appreciated. Trust yourself. It's all good. I'll do the same.